Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Hey, burnout, it's a big thing, so I kind of want to knock that out today. I want to go through burnout and just talk about really, it comes from focusing on the wrong things. And when you focus on the wrong things, that tends to really lead you down the wrong path, and you'll almost spiral, and you'll call it burnout. So you'll notice the best salespeople, hey, they're not the smartest. They're not always the most charismatic. They're not always the hardest working people, yet they can perform for years without mentally breaking, okay? Like I said, it's a psychological game, okay? It's the biggest competitor is that little voice inside of your head. So what you have to do is realize that burnout happens when you psychologically become dependent on outcomes that you have no control over, right? And that's exactly what most salespeople do. That's how you end up getting burned out. I never get burnt out. Are you kidding me? I'm 25-8, baby. I'm driven, right? I have purpose, so I'm driven, right? So I never get burnt out. Now, we're going to talk about that. Hopefully that makes sense by the end of the video, and maybe you'll never get burnt out again. Hopefully that's what we're going to prevent today. So let's talk about the dopamine trap, right? Your brain is constantly chasing dopamine. The problem is most salespeople only allow themselves to feel successful when they hear one word, and that's yes. So what happens? You close a deal, huge dopamine spike. You lose a deal, huge emotional crash, right? Your confidence begins riding a roller coaster based on other people's decisions. I call that being dangerous, all right? You don't want to be dangerous. Well, you do in the sales game, but you don't have a dangerous mindset. Guys, elite performers don't reward themselves for outcomes. They reward themselves for execution. Did I prepare? Did I ask great questions? Did I control the conversation? Did I listen? Did I follow my framework? Those are things that are completely under your control, all right? Revenue is simply the delayed result of repeatedly executing those behaviors. If you only celebrate commissions, your emotional state will always belong to your prospects, right? You don't want other people controlling how you feel, which ultimately will lead to burnout, okay? Now, let's go to the next thing. Hey, the identity that you've given yourself, that's your ceiling. So whatever identity you've given yourself, that's the level of operation you can function at, right? This is a huge mindset shift that I had in my early 20s. Listen, you don't get elite results and then become elite. You become elite first. Everything you do reinforces the story you tell yourself. If your internal story is, I'm inconsistent, I'm not great at objections, I'm not confident, your brain begins looking for evidence to prove those statements true. Psychologists call this confirmation bias, right? Your subconscious is literally trying to protect your identity. But imagine waking up every morning asking one question, okay? How would an elite closer operate today? Notice the wording. Not, but how do I make more money? How do I hit quota? How do I become successful? Those are outcome questions, okay? Elite people ask identity questions. How would someone disciplined spend this next hour, right? How would someone obsessed with mastery handle this objection? How would someone who truly cared about their prospect respond to this? Now, eventually you stop trying to become elite because acting elite becomes your default behavior, all right? So you just need to hold yourself to a higher standard for a period of time. Eventually it just becomes who you are. Let's go to purpose, and you won't get burnt out. Let's go to purpose. So I talk a lot about purpose, right? So let's talk about it, right? So look at it like this. Yes, money matters, right? I love making money. Money gives you freedom. Money gives your family opportunities. Money allows you to build a life most people only dream about, but money is a terrible long-term motivator. Psychology shows that human beings quickly adapt to external rewards. The commission becomes normal. The car becomes normal. The house becomes normal. Then your brain starts chasing something else. That's why people making $50,000 and people making $5 million can both feel empty, right? Purpose works differently. Purpose gives pain meaning. Listen, there's one famous guy named Viktor Frankl, all right? You look him up. He survived one of the darkest periods in human history and came to one incredible conclusion. The people who have a reason to endure suffering can withstand almost anything. But no, like, it's true. Sales is suffering, right? Rejection, pressure, uncertainty. If your only reason for showing up is money, dude, you'll eventually burn out. You'll quit. But if your mission is changing lives, helping entrepreneurs build freedom, helping families create financial security, what happens is you'll notice now every conversation matters, and you stop selling and you start serving. And ironically, the people who genuinely serve usually end up making the most money, typically get burnt out the less, right? The least amount. So Passion is built. Write that down. Passion is built. No, but yes, passion is built, right? People ask me all the time, Nathan, how do you stay passionate? Here's the truth. I don't stay passionate. I just chase mastery, okay? Passion is earned. Nobody loves something they're terrible at, right? You become passionate because you become competent. Competent creates confidence. Confidence creates enjoyment. Enjoyment creates passion. It becomes passion. So stop waiting to feel motivated. The elite don't wait until they feel like making calls. They make calls because that's who they are. Like discipline creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. And confidence creates passion, right? So let's drop down to stoicism. I'm big on stoicism. I think by watching my videos, you'll pick up on that. One of my favorite lines that Marcus stressed in Stoicism, Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome at one point, probably one of the greatest leaders of the world, the greatest leader, besides, the obvious answer. But listen, you have power over your mind, not outside events, right? So think about how much stress disappears when you actually believe that. Like, you don't have to control your prospect, you don't control the economy, you don't control competitors, you don't control budgets. All you control is your preparation, your effort, your emotional regulation, your professionalism, your curiosity, your follow-up. That's it. Elite performers stop wasting emotional energy trying to control uncontrollable variables. They invest every ounce of energy in becoming better because they know the only investment nobody can ever take away is the investment that you guys make inside of yourselves, right? All of that's learning, doing things off the clock when no one's watching. That's what translates into high revenue. Big checks, big boats, big homes, right? All right, hey, your greatest investment. Look, write this down, your greatest investment, okay? Every book you read, every workout you finish, every difficult conversation that you lean into, okay, every objection you study, every sales call you review, you're not just learning sales, you're building someone. Most people think they're chasing money. They're actually becoming a person, and eventually the person becomes so valuable, money has no choice but to follow it, right? And follow you. Success is rarely something that you chase. Success is usually attracted to the person that you become, right? That's why I believe your greatest investment will never be stocks, never be real estate or that silly crypto stuff. Your greatest investment will always be yourself, because every skill you develop compounds, every habit compounds, every difficult thing you choose compounds. The market eventually rewards the person you've become. So look, if you're burnt out, okay, if you are, don't immediately assume that you need a different company or a different manager, a different script, right? Maybe you need a different psychology. Build an identity that doesn't depend on your numbers. Find a purpose bigger than your paycheck. Stop chasing motivation and build discipline. Reward your execution instead of your outcomes. Invest in becoming someone extraordinary, right? Here's what I've learned. Purpose tells you why you show up. Identity determines who shows up. And discipline determines whether you show up. Now, if all of those three things align, you stop hoping to become successful, and you become the kind of person success can't ignore. Remember, the greatest product you'll ever sell is the person you become every single day. So I hope this video was really helpful for you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Stop getting burnt out, man. What are you doing?